Hello everyone, my name is Keenan. For those of you that I didn't get to speak with or introduce myself to this semester, this is going to be the final video for our C++ project, and this one is going to be a program that solves a problem that not many users have, but maybe I created. It's for encryption of files using a BASE64 encoder, and this program is going to be written in C#, which is a Microsoft developed language. So don't let that overwhelm you. I am going to have notes over each code block, and I'm going to walk through step by step. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright guys, here we are in the Visual Studio IDE. I've got my code on the left side of the screen right here. We've got in the top right the program running, and right below that my directory. So we'll be able to see how all three correspond with one another, what's happening on the back end, how does this directly affect the directory. So we'll kind of get to see each piece of it. And to start out, just like we would in C++, we're going to import some libraries. There's just some functions within these libraries that I call upon and I need to use. So same concept as C++. After we've got these libraries imported, I like to come down and document. So you can see I wrote this code in 2019. And these were just some issues I ran into along the way. I do that with all my code just so I can go back and retest it and fix it. These have already been fixed though. So we'll go ahead and jump into the main menu method, which is right here. This is our main method. We've got our access modifier, which is public static void, which lets us know this is not returning anything. And within this main method, we have an infinite loop for the main menu. And that's this main menu right up here in the top right corner. So how does it work? Well, this allows the main menu method to be called repeatedly after each action unless application is closed manually, pretty much by the user. So while 1 is equal to 1, this is just a while loop. And we could also use a boolean in here, and we could do true. But I'm going to just go back and do while 1 is equal to 1, call the main menu method. And so we come here, and this is my main menu method I created. This just pretty much allows the user to navigate the program. That's what they see right here. So I set some parameters for this. I set the foreground color, which is my text color, to green, background color to black here, and console.clear. I called upon this function here because it clears the buffer and console window of display information, which allows these parameters to take place. Coming down, created a type of string with user input as the name and no value. Okay? So below that, I've got console.writeLine, which is my equivalent to cout in C++. So this is just display into the console. So I wrote up what looks like a little navigation menu, which is what we see here. And then console.write : right here, I'm waiting for user input. So user input is equal to console.readLine, all right, or in C++, cin, right, taking in user input and waiting for a decision to be made. So coming down, we go over switch case statements. And we went over switch case statements in class. In this case, user input is our switch. So whatever the user puts right here. Now, depending on what the user puts in here, it will call one of these 6 cases. And each case has a corresponding method. Create folder, encrypt folder, decrypt folder, delete directory, delete text file, and environment.exit0. This is what shuts down my application. So we're going to go through each of these methods. I'm going to explain what they do. I'm not going to go through probably the last 3 because they are very repetitive and similar to the first 3. So after I go through the first 3, you'll have a really good understanding of what the last 3 do or are composed of. We'll go ahead and start out with create folder, and simultaneously I'll do it over here so you can see what's actually happening. So starting out on line 77, we've got another public static void method I named create folder. And this method, the goal of this method, should allow the user to create a main directory folder and allow the user to select which drive it will be created on. So we have 2 string variables, user folder name and drive selection. These are both string variables with no value. So the user will determine the value. Console.WriteLine, aka cout. Right? We're prompting the user for information. Which drive would you like to create the main directory on? Enter the solid state drive or hard drive letter this directory will be created on, C, D, F, etc. So we set drive selection equal to console.readline .toUpper. ToUpper is just a function that converts it to uppercase. This is just my personal preference. This is in no way needed. So this is one of those libraries that we have up top in use. All right, so we prompted for the directory, and we're going to prompt for the folder name. After we have those two bits of information, we're going to put it into a larger string that I named file path skeleton string. This cache and @ symbol is directly in Visual Studio. It allows me to put these variables within this string value. So this will create our directory, drive selection, and folder name. Coming down to finish up this method, we have a try catch. Now the try catch allows us to try this block of code, and if something goes wrong, in this case it's a directory not found exception, instead of crashing our application, it will let us know what happened. So we're going to try and create it, directory.createDirectory, right? This is just a function within one of my libraries. And then I'm going to provide it this argument, string file path skeleton string. So right here, we're passing this argument into this function. And we're going to let the user know that it was successful. So we're going to display your string or your directory was created successfully. Press enter to continue. If it wasn't, which I mean it always will be unless there's a duplicate, then it will say your directory could not be created, directory not found exception. Press enter to continue. Console.read down here just allows the user to read this without the console simply executing the code and flashing it up real quick and it disappearing. So this is kind of like a buffer, if you will. Let's go ahead and see what it does. We'll come up here, we're going to hit 1, create directory, enter the solid state drive or hard drive letter this directory will be created on. We're going to put it on my C drive. We'll hit C, enter the folder name, and I'll do class example. Alright, C:/class example was created successfully. Press enter to continue. If you look down here, there it is. Class example just popped up. Enter. There we go. Alright, let's move on. Encrypt folder. So now we've got our directory, we've got our folder. This is going to find the specified pathway on multiple drives and write text to the folder, and it's going to encrypt it for us. So this is a big method right here. It's got a lot going on. Again, we've got string values with no value in it right now, just names. This will all be determined by the user. So folder name, text file name, user verification, and drive selection. First up, we got drive selection. We're going to prompt the user again. You can already see how this is going to get pretty repetitive in each method, but this is information that we have to have in order to complete the task. So where is this located? What drive? And again, I convert it to upper, personal preference. Prompt the user for a folder name. Console.WriteLine, it's equivalent to cout. We're writing to the console. Enter folder name, colon, wait for the folder name, console.readline, store it in user folder name. Alright, so console.readline, remember that's equivalent to cin. We're waiting to get some information, some input. Prompt for the text file name, store it in text file name, and then build another skeleton string. This one is called file pathway. Again, I use my @ symbol and my cache sign to store variables within this string value. Drive selection, user folder name, user text file name, .txt. Alright, prompt the user for verification. So it's going to ask us, hey, is this file pathway you just provided the correct pathway you wish to write encrypted text to? Yes or no? And we're going to wait on verification. So if the user types back a Y or an N, it will do one of two things. If it's equal to Y, then we're going to try this block of code. So user input not encrypted. So this would be like whatever message, like hello world. We start out with text. So we take that text, user input not encrypted, we're reading it, we're waiting for input, we get it, store it in here, and we're going to pass it down to this get bytes function. We're going to put it within here. And we're going to set this function equal to user input to byte array. So we're changing the text, just this normal hello world text, into a get bytes function, which will encode all the characters in the specified string into a sequence of bytes. So now we have a byte array. Okay? Our variable byte array will then be passed into another function right here called to BASE64 string. And we will store this value inside string user input to BASE64. So we converted it once to the byte array, and then we converted it again to BASE64 string. Now that we've got the value we want, let's append it and write it to our file. So file.append alt text, this is another function from my libraries, and it requires 2 arguments. The pathway, where does this information need to be written, and what information is going to be written. In this case, it's user input to BASE64. Now this plus environment new line, I will explain later. This is not an argument. This is just a function that I will show you once we go through the method over here. It's just easier to explain, being able to see it happen. Let's see. Okay, so coming down, again, let the user know, hey, it was successfully written to the file. If it wasn't, don't crash our application. Tell us what happened. In this case, it's always going to be a directory not found. That's why it could not create anything, because it didn't exist. So it'll let us know instead of crashing it. Finishing out our if statement, else if user verification is equal to n, right? They put in the wrong information. We'll just recall the method a second time and allow them to do it again. And just else, invalid response. Let's say they type in something random. Well, the computer's not going to understand what they wanted. So invalid response. Give an option for an option. So let's see this one in action. And this is Decrypt Folder. We'll come up here. Remember, we got class example down here. Let's go ahead and hit 2. So it is on our C drive. That's where we put it. The folder name was class example. And the text file name will be text example. We'll just do that. Is this pathway the correct pathway we wish to write encrypted text to? Yes, it is. We'll put in a Y. Information to be encrypted, and I'll just type in, this is a video project for my C++ class. Enter. And then it's going to tell us that this was successfully written to file. Sweet. So we'll hit enter one more time, and it called the main menu again. So it didn't close it automatically. It still gives us the option to do more than one thing. Let's go down. And now we're going to go to Decrypt Folder. So this method will ask the user for the pathway, same concept, put it into a skeleton string, read decrypt the specified pathway, and we're really just going to work backwards from encrypt folder. So again, we've got string values with user input, or that will be determined by user input, the string pathway response, and again, where is this folder located, directory name, text file name, build it all up into one skeleton string. Is this correct? Yes or no? If it is, try this. And in this instance, we're going to create a new instance of list. So list of strings, and we're going to name it encrypted lines list is equal to new list. So we're creating a new instance. All right. Encrypted lines list, right here, our string list, is equal to file.readAllLines of skeleton pathway.toList. So what is this line of code doing? We are reading this pathway, seeing if it exists. If it exists, we're going to read all the text information, all the lines in there, and we're going to do a .toList function to add it to our encrypted lines list. After that, we're going to use a for each loop, string individual encrypted lines in encrypted lines list. So this will cycle through each encrypted or individual encrypted line in the encrypted lines list. Doing so, for each of them, it will convert it from BASE64 string to a byte array. So we're just working backwards now. We're providing the individual encrypted line, this is BASE64, and we're putting it back into a byte array. Then we're taking the byte array information, putting it into getString function, and bringing it back into a string. Then we will display it. Your encrypted text was decrypted individual line, right here. String decrypted individual line. So we're just working backwards from the previous method. Catch, again, let us know what happened. Don't crash our application. Else if you need to call it again, a mistake was made, and then else, response not recognized. Let's see it in action. So we'll go over here, we'll hit 3. It is in C. The folder and directory name is class example. And the text file name was text example. All right, we're going to hit enter, and before we hit enter, I want to come down here and just click on it so I show you guys. Text example, that's what's currently in there. So if I was just to open up this person's computer, this is all I see. I don't know what this means. Come here, I'm going to hit enter. And pathway specified, yep, that looks good to me. Hit Y. Encrypted text, this is a video project for my C++ class. So we went from this to this. Hit enter to continue. And the following 3 methods are to delete the directory, delete the text file, and then to exit the app. So these here, again, they call for information. They call for where's it at, where's it located, so it doesn't delete the wrong one. It builds the pathway. It validates the pathway with the user, and then it tries it. If yes, directory.delete. This is a function within my library. Provided the skeleton string, this is pretty much the pathway, right? This is the road that it has to take in order to get there. If it works, let the user know. Else if, made a mistake, call it again, let them input the information again. Else, response not recognized, and catch, don't crash our application, tell us what happened. Delete text file, same concept. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how this works, since we already have a pretty good understanding of the code. We'll come here, and we will first delete the text file within our directory. So we'll hit 5, and it is on our C drive. The directory name is class example. And the text file name is text example. Alright, so that's the correct pathway. We see it right here. So we'll hit C, class example, text example. There it is. So we'll hit Y. Yep, that's it. And it just lets us know it was successfully deleted. And now you can see this folder is empty. So now all we have is the class example. We'll go back, hit enter. We'll go to 4, delete directory, C. What is the name of the folder? It is class example. Is C drive /class example the correct pathway? Yes, it is. And you just saw it disappear. It was just deleted, just like that. So my last method at the bottom of this is a test method where I've been trying other things, just kind of playing around with this program, trying to expand upon it. Let's see, delete text file, and then our last one that we really have is the exit. And there's no method for it. I simply have it up in the switch case statement. Right here, environment.exit 0. So this just terminates the process and returns exit code to the operating system. So we'll come over here, we will hit 6 and enter, and shut it down. So if you guys have any questions about this, I'm also going to go over a flow chart here in a minute, but I will probably upload like a private playlist to my YouTube so you can comment on there. I'm also going to post the link to it in the thread of our discussion in Blackboard. Just reach out to me and I will try and answer your question as best I can. So we just went over the Visual Studio IDE code and looked through the program as a whole. I hope you were able to follow along, and if you weren't, just let me know in the comment section or in the thread. I'm going to post it in both. I'll probably end up uploading it to YouTube as well. But real quick before we do go, we're going to look over the flow chart and kind of see block by block how it works and a little bit easier on the eyes. So let's go ahead and hop into that. This is narrowed down just a tad with all the decisions, as there were a ton of decisions in each individual method. But overall, the same concept still holds true. Start up the program. A process is taking place, and this process displays the main menu, taking menu input. Okay, so this is where we had our switch case statement, where it was asking which of the following options would you like to pursue, and it would process which method was called based on the switch case statement. Create folder, encrypt folder, decrypt, delete text file, and exit. If it was to exit, it would terminate the program there. If it was to do any of these 5, it would continue on, prompt the user for another round of information, make decisions based off that inputted information, and display outcome results in each of these individuals based on this prompted information. It would repeat this process until it was ended manually by this exit method here. So this would have continued in that loop, because remember we had while 1 is equal to 1 display our main menu method. So it would be an infinite loop. And this pretty much sums up the flow chart. Hopefully this is a little bit easier on the eyes versus the Visual Studio Code. It did not vary too much, but if you did have any remaining questions, definitely leave them in the thread. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up this project. I hope you were able to follow along on both the code and the flow chart. If you have any questions about either, like I said, the comment sections, I'll be responding to some of them. On top of that, I look forward to seeing all of your projects, and I hope you all stay well. See you guys soon.